Hello everyone, P from 41 here. So I just wanted to share something I put together a while back with you. Now this is a RCA XL100 Colortrak 25-inch console TV. But this isn't just any old console TV. This one actually has newer internals inside it which make it more reliable. Now the whole reason this came about is because we were putting together an escape room and we needed a TV to play the intro video as well as something to do the countdown timer. And it just seemed a lot cooler to have something that would fit the theme rather than a random old flat screen. Now on the front, there's not a whole lot to look at other than, of course, the TV itself. So over here, this is actually where our media player is because everything runs off a little media player which uses a thumb drive now. If you look here, there's a hole for the IR sensor for the remote, so you can see if we can scroll through it. The old knobs, power switch, control panel, those have all been removed because they aren't used for the new TV. That was broken when I got it. I did not break it. This used to change the channel. It doesn't anymore. Now what this does is it turns on and off the newer TV components that are inside it now. And we just set it to channel 3 and made the light work because it looks a lot cooler that way. This antenna on the top is 100% for show. It does absolutely nothing, especially since, you know, digital TV and all this these components are old enough they wouldn't work anyway. And this is what the back looks like, and as you can see, that antenna isn't even connected to anything. Not a whole lot to look at back here. Main power switch over there. And then this was held to the back panel with double-sided tape, but this is just a USB extension where you can plug in the thumb drive so you can easily get to it. But we'll pop that back panel off so you can get a better look at what's going on in there. So this is what the inside looks like. Now keep in mind, due to time constraints at the time, as well as the fact that it was built entirely on site, means that it's not nearly as polished as it could be. I also haven't messed with it or changed anything on it since I first built it. So first things first, what's left of the original TV? Well, we have 2 speakers. Those are original. And then if you look up here, this is the Colortrak mechanism. So what this is a circular disc and there's a motor in there. And when you change the channel, the motor would spin the disc and move a different window in front of the light, thereby indicating what channel you were on. And I decided to keep that and leave it on channel 3 so that I could backlight it just because I thought it would look cooler. And that's pretty much all that's left of the original internals. So first thing we'll start with is the tube and chassis, the big things. Now these are from a Magnavox 25-inch TV. I believe this was from the late 90s or early 2000s, but I really can't remember for sure. Now of course they had different mounting brackets. Luckily the Colortrak has this clamp style mounting bracket, so I was able to just simply cut off the original mounting bracket from this tube, swap on the Colortrak bracket, and everything bolted right up, no problems at all. I did have to zip tie the degauss coil on to the Colortrak bracket because of course it didn't have provisions for that particular coil. Now unfortunately this TV did not originally come with RCA inputs and only had a coax input. Luckily it came with an RF converter. So up here in the corner is our media player. Now you can pick these up really cheap from either eBay or Amazon, probably a lot of different places. And it's mounted up there so that I can have that hole in the front for the IR sensor to pick up the signal from the remote. And those wires coming out of the bottom of it are actually for our USB extender so that we can have this on the outside of the TV and be able to swap out the thumb drive easily. I had to do that because it turned out that the USB port was on the front, and so I couldn't mount it flush against there if there was a USB cord plugged into it. Now if you look down here, you'll notice that only the video cable is plugged into the RF converter. That's because we don't use the audio from the original chassis. Instead, it runs over here to this little amplifier. This was something we just had kicking around, and that amplifies the audio and sends it out to the original speakers. Of course, it's mono, just like the originals were. We don't need stereo on this. It is not, you can't change the volume on this amplifier from the outside of the TV, but you can change the volume on the media player. So I just set this at a reasonable volume, at what point I can use the media player to adjust the volume and get it to where I want it to. Now, if you'll notice, we have two wires coming off of the chassis. Those are actually tapped into the power switch for this chassis. They run over here. The ends of those wires are actually tinned with solder and then simply inserted into the connector for the channel change button on the front of the TV. And what that does is it makes the channel change button the new power button for this chassis, which I had to do because this thing will not turn on automatically when you turn on the main power to the entire unit. So our main power comes in through here. It goes through this switch, which then comes down to our power strip, and this sends power out to our amplifier, chassis, all that stuff. And if you look at the back, there's actually these two wires. They just go into a plug, which is plugged straight into the power strip. These are for the 120 volt light bulb, which illuminates the channel window, and that was done purely for aesthetics. Now, the reason I did this is so that I could kill all the power to the TV completely. If I really wanted to, I could have run it through the original power switch, but I didn't, simply due to safety concerns. That switch is, of course, from the 70s, and I just didn't really trust it. This thing was going to be left unattended, powered off for long periods of time, so having a new modern switch just seemed a lot safer. Now, to operate this, first thing you gotta do is turn on the main power switch, and that's going to turn on main power to everything in this TV, but the chassis is still off. It's in standby mode. And now push the channel change button. That will turn on our chassis. And you see we have our menu for our media player. Just take the remote, point it at that side of the TV, and we can go through the menu. So we go in, load our USB drive. I know this might not come out very well, but I can't do anything about that because it's a CRT. So we can go through our menus and select a video.
You can only unlock this door with the key of imagination.
And now there's a volume up and down on here, so we can adjust the volume.
Which you may find it impossible to escape. A dimension of sound, a dimension of sight, a dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of the unknown.
Well, the camera started freaking out for a minute there, but yeah, so that is my modified RCA Colortrak. Hopefully you found this interesting. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below.